Hello everyone. So this is the Thinkpad X240. This is kind of an ultrabook compact laptop from Lenovo. Has a long history, it's been around a long time. So it's not the thinnest laptop. It's not like all ultrabooks, as you'll see. It's got some heft to it, but on the other hand, it has a VGA port, it has mini display port, two USBs, and an Ethernet port. And this laptop can actually run two extra monitors at the same time, so including the laptop display itself, it uses 3 monitors. This is kind of nice. Not all laptops can do that. So let me just point out some things I do and don't like about this computer. So first off, I do not like the ClickPad. As you might have heard me say before, I'm not a big fan of these ClickPads at all. Most of the time I just tap on the touchpad, so this entire clicking function for me is completely useless. I would much rather just have actual buttons. I don't really use the track point. I actually have it disabled currently, so I can't really comment too much about that, but it probably works as it always does. So some other things about this computer is, first of all, the keyboard is good. It's great to type on, but I just wanted to point out recently, Lenovo's keyboards they just feel like the keys themselves are made of very cheap plastic. And I've had some other models with issues where the keyboard letters would just kind of fall off pretty easily, and we've had quite a few keyboards replaced. So in terms of typing and actual response and everything, they're perfect, but I just wish they just feel like they're made of very cheap plastic, and that might not be too big of an issue, but it's still a little annoying. This is kind of a somewhat premium machine. I guess going to the screen of this machine is quite good. It's much better than the T440 series, and I think this is an IPS display. It has a pretty low resolution. It's only 1300 by 768, but honestly, the colors in it look pretty good. I really have no complaints, and with such a small screen, I really don't need a higher resolution. I think this is good enough. I mean, I guess some would like 1080p, but this is good enough for me. Some other things I wanted to point out about this computer is it is very tough, and it kind of sticks to the old ThinkPad build quality, but obviously has a new design. Of all the new ThinkPads, I think I like this new design in this model the most. It looks very sleek. It's very, when you actually look at it at first, it doesn't look that small. But this laptop it's really quite tiny. I mean, as you can just see, this is my hand here. It's very easy to hold. It's just like a tiny little notebook. And the heft actually makes it kind of better to hold. You'd think it could be an ultrabook that's extra thin and kind of sleeker, but just being that a little bit of thickness, it really feels like you can easily carry this around the office just by the corner, and you have no worry about anything breaking or cracking, and it feels sturdy and tough, and I like that. So some other things I'd like to say about this computer. Overall, I really wish you could have a quad-core i7. I mean, with every year it seems like the X series gets a little bit slower and a little bit slower, and actually, one thing I wanted to point out is that it really doesn't seem like it focuses a lot on cooling. As you can see, this is the entire vent. It's tiny. I mean, I think if this computer was designed with a quad-core in mind and had slightly bigger vents, or maybe even 2 small fans, like Sony, for example, has done in the past, you could very easily put a quad-core i7 in this computer, and it would be absolutely great. I would love it. And if you could get rid of this ClickPad and put a quad-core i7 in this would probably be the computer I'd choose 100% of the time. But since there is only a dual core, it's good enough for any average user. It'll be good enough, but it's still it'd be nice to see that quad core i7. So some other things I just wanted to point out is essentially this laptop's battery life is not that great. I mean, it's about 5 or 6 hours, but that's it. And I think for a laptop like this that still has a dual core, it could be a little better. I'd like to see more, closer to 8 or 9 hours, kind of steady. I mean, you could push it to that if you put the screen brightness down and kind of use less applications, but realistically it's between 5 to 6 hours, maybe even closer to 5 hours. So it's not really a complaint, but it could be better. One other thing I just want to show the sound quality in this laptop. It's just some random YouTube video I clicked on.
Candidates are constantly criticizing one another, and voters are taking sides. Please, nobody here.
This is maximum volume. And it's not really that loud, but it's good enough for a meeting in kind of a not too noisy environment. It'll play a song. The audio quality is not that great, but I'd say it's loud enough. It would be nicer if it was louder, but it's just passable, and it's definitely better than small laptops like this used to be a couple of years ago. So I think it's passable. One other thing is also it still supports the dock, so if you're interested in docking station, it does have the dedicated port on the bottom. So you don't need any kind of USB funky dock, you pretty much just have the old school style dock where you plop it in and it's good to go. So overall, as I said, I've been using this computer for about 2 months. I do like it. See what else I can say about it. It really has pretty much everything you'd want from a new modern laptop and something in a compact size. I really greatly recommend it. And as long as you're used to Lenovo's ClickPads, I think you'll really have no issue with it. It can be actually picked up pretty cheaply if it's a refurb model. This is a refurb model. I think it was only around $700, and it has a SSD already built in with 8 gigs of RAM. It's pretty speedy. I have no complaints. It plays games like StarCraft 2 on all medium settings with no issues. And yeah, I've been carrying around day to day, carrying it around the office. It's a little heavier than most Ultrabooks, obviously, because it is a bit thicker. But I mean, unless you're one of those people that cares about every little tiny bit of weight, this is perfectly light enough for any normal user. No one should have any complaint about this. I mean, maybe if you're, you know, under 5 feet tall and you want something absolutely tiny, then maybe this is a little heavy, but that's about it. So overall, I do recommend this computer. I think it's much better than the other T series. It feels stronger and tougher. The keyboard is great as always. This is a full-size keyboard, so even though the letters may feel a little cheap, it's still extremely pleasant to type on. One other thing, I wish it kind of had a third USB port. It does only have 2, but I mean, I guess it could be worse. So it's, yeah, that's actually the new Lenovo charging ports. They almost look like a USB port, so sometimes you might be confused and think that's a USB port, but it is not. It is the charger port. So this is kind of what it looks like. Still have the Kensington lock, 1 headphone jack, no microphone, separate port. Still has the SD card reader, and it has a SIM card slot. I'm not actually sure if it has the hardware to power the device, but essentially if you wanted an option with the cellular data, then you could have it. So if you're thinking about getting this laptop, I'd say go for it. It really has no major issues. I know with Windows 10, it is running Windows 10, so I have had a couple issues with the Intel graphics driver. For example, there have been a couple times where I just closed the laptop screen, and when I opened it up, Windows essentially rebooted and everything I had open was closed. But this has only happened a couple times, and I've actually had it happen with a lot of laptops with Windows 10 that have Intel graphics, and I think this is a Intel graphics related driver issue. But it doesn't happen that often that I'm very worried. So if this happened, you know, every 2 days, I'd be really pissed. But I'd say this has happened about once every 1 to 2 weeks. So it's not too bad, and I think it's getting better because the drivers are just not 100% yet for Windows 10. And I have not tried it with Windows 8, so this issue might not exist at all with Windows 8. So that's basically it. This is the Thinkpad X240, and I definitely recommend this computer.